Hey, it's Joe again, and I'm back with a little tutorial that I promised you guys a long time ago. After I did my last Loft Roofs, I said that I was going to come up with some new designs that would hopefully knock your socks off, and then put them back on so that you could get down to work and build some interesting houses. Now, of course, I know you most keen is to learn how to do this quite modern looking house here in the corner. All the others are different techniques of how to create interesting designs using the limitations, working within the limitations of the game. So let's start with this one. I know you're all dying to see how this was created. First of all, it uses a custom texture, the roof that you can download these roofs that I've created from the links in the comment section. So this is not using the custom game roofs. However, you could use them. You just won't get this long, slender glass panels effect because they've got horizontals as well. This roof that I created gives you these never-ending long strips. So how exactly is this created? First of all, let's start with the boring one on top. It's just a slab, which I've used to give it a nice in-between floors bevel to trim off the building. It's a very simple building. I didn't bother to get into too much detail. It's really just a gallery. And then I've got a mono-pitched roof. So you basically pick one of these guys, plonk it down. It's just very minimum flat. And then, of course, it has no eaves at all, because I don't think that glass roofs look very good with eaves. And I chose the trim. I generally go for the last one on the beveled out roof trim, the last one on the item on the list, because it just looks best with skylights. The others just don't, they look odd. This just looks like a water trap to me. All the rain would go in there and wouldn't get out. So I tend to always stick with this one for skylight effects. And that's about it. I created the inner cobalt edge there by having this roof slab on the top. And there's some people that said to me, well, why the glass roofs automatically cut through the ceiling to give you the cavity, but they don't give you a trim. By creating a slab, if I remove that slab, the slab in a place on the ground, you'll see what I'm talking about. This is actually a room that has a hole cut out in it, and it has the trim here. It becomes the foundation, but up there, if you look at the roof now, actually the ceiling is missing, but you have no trim. You just have this wall. If I put it back, you suddenly have a roof trim around your skylight, which neatens things up, gives you more of an architectural look. So that's how that one is created. These are also roofs. Game is just going a little bit bonkers there. If I pull one out, you'll see what I'm talking about. That is actually your roof. It's a glass roof. This is the smallest that it will go. It's 2 tiles. Let me switch on the grid so you can see. It's 2 tiles long because I wanted to take the glass up to full height here for this very impressive sort of highest wall setting. So I had to I had to pull it back, otherwise it just didn't work as well. So this is basically the minimum that your roof can go. You can't make it any smaller. And then the rest is just eaves. That would be your roof. So undo that and put it back. So essentially you take a mono-pitched roof like that. Let's go down a few flights. You put it on the ground. Reduce it to the smallest size that you need, depending on how high you want to go. And then, of course, you need to adjust it to match your walls and get it as close as possible. And then you extend your eaves. By looking at a normal roof, you can probably see how that was made. Now, what happens is that you can extend the eaves on either side. Let me undo what I just deleted that. If you press Shift and pull the eaves handle, that little triangular shape, you can pull just the one or both. If you release Shift, it pulls the eaves in from both opposite sides. If you click just Shift, you can pull in or out, just the one. The corner glass roofs, if I pull it out, you'll see it's actually sitting inside there. Is half the roof, half the eaves. You only have the one pulled out, and the rest is hidden inside the column. So that's basically the process for all of these floors. Both floors, upstairs and downstairs. The one is reversed. Pull it out. This one leans forward. So it's technically, this is the inside of the house. And the lower one is technically outside the house. Now there's a couple of things that you can do to make it look better, which is what I've done here. It looks a lot better on a foundation. So I've got a foundation and I also need a foundation for the other examples on the property. Here what I've done is I've just taken a fence. It's literally just a fence. It's the stone fence. I can never remember what it's called. The short stone ledge. That's what it is. Or no, it's not. It's another type of fence. Oops. My mistake. I've used possibly this one. No. Okay. It's the monolithic wall that gives you that. You don't see any columns because it terminates, and the game's going bonkers. It terminates against a wall, so you don't see the columns. It just gives you that ledge. That ledge, in my mind, let's hide the grid, gives you a lovely finish. It actually looks like a concrete upturned slab with an edge, and the glass roof meets up. This is actually the beveled edge. If I can grab that. Is the beveled edge of the roof that makes it look like a framework. The top one is actually hidden inside the fence, but it gives you a very, very neat and trim from inside as well. You've got this ledge, and then you've got a sloping out glass wall that literally defies gravity and leans out. That gives you this very modern look, and it looks good from the inside as well, in case you're wondering. There's a couple of things you need to be aware of. First of all, if you completely enclose, I'll move one so you can see there are actually open rooms here that surround, make the column around the glass roof. If you completely close this, let me undo and I'll show you. If you close that little room by building a wall, you can actually see it's already warning you that it's going to delete that roof, because that roof is now suddenly indoors. So the game won't allow you to have a roof indoors. And poof, it's gone. So that's how I created you. The upstairs rooms don't have a back wall, and the downstairs ones don't have, if I remember correctly. Let me grab it. Gosh. Oh, I see, they're actually the same. But the other way, it cannot have four walls. It's still considered as a room, but if you look closely, if I can zoom in on there, I've used a fence, I think. See, I've used I think it's the window shopping fence for window shopping, to make sure that this is still considered a room, but it has no back wall, so it doesn't delete. Let me delete this roof. It doesn't delete the roofs. It still technically functions as a room, but it has no back wall. Therefore, the roof is not deleted. You can then go in and draw a separate wall into the back if you don't have a wall or a railing of some sort. I find it's kind of glitchy. Sometimes you can actually go in afterwards and draw in a wall. The wall will still be separate. Like this is actually the room. So I've actually drawn a wall on the inside of the actual room. It's not connected to the... We grab it from the side. It's not connected to this room. If you actually expand it, you'll see what I mean. It actually comes... Now it's got a wall. The game works in very peculiar and mysterious ways. But essentially, if I delete this one, you'll see that there's just empty rooms that hide the centerpiece of the glass roof. So anyway, this is just a particularly odd way of getting around the limitations of the game. Now downstairs, let me release that room. You'll actually see that I've actually got a solid room downstairs. The room actually goes in and under the glass roofs. This is fairly important so that you don't get odd lighting. The game considers this as an indoor room, even though technically it has no walls here. It's just got a glass roof technically there. What this does, I've created this also with, if I delete one of the roofs, also with a fence. So I've actually gone in afterwards, after I've placed all the roofs, and actually created a fence. With the fence, created a room. So I've actually got, look, if you look from the top, the room actually goes in and around all these columns, and of course the glass roofs, but it doesn't join with those little rooms, so the glass roof is allowed to stay. You can then, of course, place down your floor finishes, etc., with a one click, because this is one room. One thing you should be aware of is obviously a sim that walks here. Let me release the room. A sim that walks here is obviously going to stand. He's going to stand here because he can. This is a room. He's going to be half out of the glass and half in. So you may want to place things in these regions so that they cannot walk there. You prevent any kind of passage through to this area if that sort of realism bothers you. Otherwise, they'll be slashed in half by the glass. And it could prove to be fatal. You could also place a fence. I chose on this one not to, but you could place a fence here on the bottom to create. I used, which one? That was the megalith, monolith. What's it called? This one. That's the one I used upstairs. Let's release that. That also gives you quite a fancy trim, and it matches the room upstairs if you want. If you don't want to do, but I rather like the floor going almost down to the floor, only the roof trim. And again, I found that this last one is the one that works the best, I think, or not. You'll have to play with the ones that you think looks best. I don't recall which one I used. Obviously, each one creates a different look. But bear in mind, obviously, it will repeat it at the top and at the bottom. So you can create a variety of different looks simply by using fences, and roof bevels. What else can I tell you about this one? That's really about it. You try and keep your room as one room, the actual room that will be used. You cannot remove the columns because otherwise you'll see the slope of the half roof. You actually see weird wallpaper. It becomes rather difficult to wallpaper these things. So it's best to actually wallpaper them beforehand often, because you get these strange left. If I had a different wallpaper on there before. So that's how you create a modern sloping in and out glass roof. And I think it looks quite spectacular, but it's not overly practical, and it won't work for every type of house. I've also got a roof, not a roof trim, a in-between floor trim here, which helps to, if you kill that, it doesn't look, that will kill the roof. It doesn't look nearly as neat. So by taking what do they call this? Exterior trims. The one that goes between. If I use an elaborate one, you'll see what I'm talking about. By using a trim there, it gives you a different look, and it also neatens up your glass wall. You could also use it to hide the upper roof trim. So that's how I created that look. I'll do all of that. That's how I got that sort of very modern look. And still, the rooms are completely self-contained, so you don't get this bizarre lighting indoors. You have the skylights casting down light, the windows. The sun is on the wrong side for this property, so you'll see the lighting will also come through the glass roof and cast shadows on the inside. Put this back to normal lighting. Right, so that's how you create a modern house. Go ahead and make something interesting for us to look at. Another less interesting roof window is this. This one's particularly prone to glitching, but it can look quite nice. So if you want to create a central roof window in the center of, on the ridge, but not have it extend all the way, because glass roofs never look good when they extend all the way to the edge. This is how you do it. Now, the best thing is to deconstruct the roof and show you what everything is. The central part is really made up of 3 pieces. So let me move them out and you'll see. Your glass roof, which obviously spans all the way across, including to the eaves, so that the roof trims and everything meet up. And then you've got 2 little roofs that have been placed over the glass roof. Now, this is a world of nightmare. You see already the roof textures don't align. Often the glass roof will also bleed through. Reset that. Will often bleed through, as you can see here. So you have to continuously adjust to get the glass roof to disappear. And of course, it has all sorts of glitches. Let me undo so I have my original tweaking with a technique I'm going to show you a little bit later. The drawback of this is that often, go down a level, the roof textures just don't line up. You often have to resort to a linear roof type like this. It's much easier to disguise. But I wanted you to see that this is the drawback. If you want to wallpaper the inside of that loft space, I suppose you'd call it, what you'll find is if you lower the walls, if you lower the roof, let's go up, so that if you have the walls up, the roof is up, even if it's in cutaway mode. And of course, it's very difficult to go in and wallpaper those walls because they're technically roofs. So the trick to remember is hover over the roof that you want to paint. Now, in this case, it's not that roof. It's actually the glass roof. You see, if I hover anywhere over the glass roof, it actually begins to wallpaper. Well, I speak under correction, because I think it's actually picking. The game is very strange. But basically, if you hover over those roofs, you will get that wallpaper on that particular wall. I just chose a plain, I think it's called plain white or something. It's just got a nice little trim that gives you white walls. One thing to bear in mind, what I've got here is I've got 2 separate roofs. If you want to have one type of wallpaper on your gable, this is a hip, so it has no wallpaper, only on that interior wall. This is a hipped on one side and gabled on the other side. And you can see, from my experiments, it's actually got an odd wallpaper there. Let's go back. If you use a gable and you use wooden trim on the gable end, the inside will also have a wooden end. And I'll show you by deleting this piece. You see already there, you've got, and sometimes that shows through, sometimes it doesn't. It's really sort of kind of random. At this point in time, it's decided to show the glass roof's wallpaper. If you experience that problem, what you do is you create a sliver of a roof. If I pull it out, you'll see. Create a small segment of the roof with the interior wallpaper that you want, and that solves your problem. And then you just have your gables with whatever texture you want to have. This is particularly glitchy. Like I said, I'm not likely to use this in my own builds because I don't like this mismatched. Sometimes you see on this side it's actually matching because I moved that roof. It's now actually almost matching the roof texture. From a distance, it's not a big thing. If you're using tiles, it can give you endless nightmare. I will show you a technique for adjusting roofs at the end, which is kind of a bonus tip. You can also place things like plants up there, which gives you quite a nice look. And of course, you can see through to the room below, giving you a skylight in the middle of your roof. Now, this is a technique I came up with when I did the jungle ecopod build. You may have seen that, and you may have seen these roofs. Essentially, this is a series of basements. It's got a foundation, which if I click it, you can see. There's a foundation here which frames the roof. Now, you can't put roofs onto foundations. You can only build, if I try and move it, you'll see what I mean. You can't put a roof, you can only put a roof on, you can't put it on a foundation. You can put it on a room or on the ground, but you can't put it on to a foundation, which is very annoying. So the only way to do it is to place the roof on the ground and then build your foundation around it. The reason why I do this is because it's just got such a magnificent trim. It gives you the sloping glass roof that almost meets glass windows. So you've got this almost 90-degree window, goes around 90 degrees. If you use, depending on the trims you use, you get a really sort of steel-like look. I'm using my foundations from the concrete bunker, which I designed deliberately to give you this sort of bevel and that line. If you don't have this particular foundation, it's based on this one. So you could replace it. This one is the one that works the best because it actually slopes out. It actually comes out. Where most foundations go in, this is one of the few ones that actually protrudes. All of the others go in. So you don't actually get, this one's not too bad, but you get a sort of odd beveling in and out. This is the only foundation that actually steps out and stays solid, and that gives you that meeting edge, which gives you that illusion of the concrete. Of course, I am using my concrete foundations. Then, of course, downstairs you use your windows as required. If you're looking for a tutorial on how to create open-air basements, I have one for that too, so look out for that. Essentially what this is, let me go downstairs. You've got two main rooms. This one has a ceiling so that it doesn't show through. In this case, I've got the foundation directly over it. But if I didn't have it and I removed the ceiling, you would have this. So this is basically a basement with the roof removed. And you get this open-air basement with stairs leading down. The light goes in because you've got windows, you've got light coming from above, and you've got light coming in from the skylight. There is a very slight glitch at the back here where it doesn't quite meet anything. You also cannot draw walls around monopitch roofs. You can only draw walls around, for example, this roof. This roof, you could actually put a fence around that. And I've done it before, where you get quite an interesting look. Where you should try to create skylights. And then you get your skylights. So you can draw walls around, but hipped roofs, etc. But you cannot get a wall on a foundation around this. It will put it there, but it won't show it. If you remove the roof, then suddenly it pops up. So that's how you create. Oh, and if you're wondering how I created the opening, let's go down. I created the opening inside here so that this would have a ceiling and the rest wouldn't. It just looks neater when you're in the basement and you look up to actually have the ceiling. You could technically just remove the entire ceiling. But again, as I said, if your above ground foundation isn't exactly the size or bigger than your basement, then you have an open space. So the way to do it is to create a room within a room. Basically, I create either by copying and pasting the room from above, which is, there is no room, but you create a room exactly the size of the skylight above. Downstairs, you remove all the walls and you remove the ceiling. You can see the green line and the yellow line to build the ceiling, and then you're back to grass. And of course, the roof now looks into a grass area. That's how you create this effect. I tend to always use separate rooms for this because just expecting the glass roof to cut through doesn't always work, and it doesn't always work on the ground either. So that's why I use this. And of course, you get far more ideas on how to create these sort of building structures that look like they're actually above ground, but they're basements, by watching the African EcoPod build. Right, now you've all been wondering about what this is. Let me go up. I've had this idea in my head to create a car salesman business. You get down a couple of floors. This is something I've got in mind for the future. I actually want to continue these. This is one of the cars I liberated from the game. I retextured it a little bit and added additional colors. and they're now placeable. I want to make a showroom and sell cars, just for fun. So I thought this would be a perfect building to have this sort of effect. I had this idea to create what simulates, let me go from that side, simulates a retractable roof. If you look, it's actually 4 roofs all piled up on top of each other. This is your glass roof, and then other roofs with varying trims. The central roof here has a square-edged trim. I wanted it to appear as if they would slide on, and then this one would sort of slot in between the two and sort of join them. So if I deconstruct it, you'll see what's happening. In the front, I've got a half wall, which, if I delete it, you'll see makes the edge look a little bit neater. It's neat enough, but it doesn't give you the effect that these roofs are. Look from the top, they're going to slide out and then butt up against that wall. This to me gives you the effect of a trim. The roofs would slide on and meet that wall, and then of course seal. So let me deconstruct this so you can see. First of all, this is just your everyday glass roof. Nothing special about that. We've got 3 different roofs. We go down now, I'm on the right level. You actually see them crisscross. Trying to show the grid. Okay, the grid is on, but you can't see it. Let me start removing them. This one is literally 1 tile wide and spans the whole width of the building. You can actually see that's the width, and then what it is I've expanded the, if I can just grab them, I've expanded the eaves less in one direction. So they look like they stacked. The central one, and they're all the same pitch. These are raised ever so slightly. They're not exactly the same pitch because I wanted them to appear to be on top of one another. If you add 2 of these, it works. If you add 3, they tend to blend. The third one is also another 1-tiled roof with the eaves hell of extended. Then of course they overlap. They bring you the side eaves of the roof. So it gives you this appearance. And this one, again, is a little bit larger, but it's just another one. It is a copy of those roofs. Again, extended quite a bit to go over the glass and to extend under the other roofs. You see, just by moving it back and forward, it's already altered what I had. So this is how you create a retractable faux roof or faux retractable roof. Brings you lots of light. It's got sort of an industrial feel if you are doing retail. And it's perfect for a car dealership, which I intend to build, but I need to retexture some of the existing game cars and make them available. Again, I just use different foundations to suit each style. Now, your bonus tip, which isn't really about glass roofs, but it's really more of a building series of hints. And also something that I discovered recently, which I didn't know. Let me unset it so I can show you. Normally, you only have these set of controls for your roofs. You can pull it, you can push it down, and that's really pretty much all you can do. In the previous roof tutorial, I actually said to combine different roofs to get different effects. While that is still valid, I discovered something interesting. There is a shortcut. If you press Shift-C, if you have a roof selected, and you press Shift and the letter C, you get a whole lot of additional controls, and that applies to this as well. As you can see here, you can now manipulate the roof in 3 different places to create really bizarre looking roofs. I didn't know this, so forgive me. If you already knew this, then, well, I didn't. So you can create quite astounding roofs and create quite weird results. The last adjuster doesn't do very much unless you have eaves. If you do that, you can actually get an upturned roof, which can look quite odd. But if you want this sort of very bizarre looking structure, then this is how you do it. So that's using Shift and C, and it gives you 3 additional controls. Here you've got a lot of them purely because this is octagonal. If you go to a simple roof, you have just your normal concave, convex. If you press Shift C, then you get, I believe I actually had that turned on. Whoops. Right, normally you just have your convex, concave. Pressing Shift C gives you 3, gives you the upper, and then a lower control. And and then you also get on your eaves, you get that additional thing that you can actually create a very bizarre water catching roof. But for certain build structures, you may want this for some effect of some sort. So that's how to manipulate the roof. I didn't know it. Now you do. If you did already know this, then I apologize for wasting your time. This is also just to show you what you can actually do with a very simple structure. If you're doing fairy towers or etc., you can get better effects by using, again, my technique of creating an upper floor and placing it above. You remove all the walls and you place the floor there. And the reason for that is, depending on the effect you are, see if I can drop down, the game stops arguing with me and zooming all over the place. Depending on the effect you're going for, you may want to use a roof, trims between floors. So you could, where you normally can't, and I won't select, there we go. Normally you cannot place these because you could put it, if you've got enough height, you could use the corners. So you could place the corners on the lower floor if you have enough height. But if you have a lower room height, you can't place these. So you can't do any kind of decoration up there. So the way to do it is, as I said, you place that roof up there. Now that I've placed it there, I can't actually grab it. So if you want to remove it again, you actually have to take the roof off and move the upper floor onto the ground floor. And that's how you get access to it again. However, you can create the in-between floors trim, and you can literally use anything you want depending on the style you want to create. If you're using the game spandrels, then placing a trim often just hides that, so it's kind of one or the other. But if you use very small, you always have to select directly above and hope to grab that room that's invisible. You see, you get an extra little trim, which, like with some of my other tutorials, it gives you a neatness on your columns and even your spandrels. If you use a very large cornice detail, then it's all just lost. It's all just a waste of time. You can't see the spandrel or anything. You can see a little bit of it, but that's about it. These techniques work well when you don't have an eaves overhang. As soon as you have an eaves overhang, of course, you're wasting your time. You needn't even bother because you can see nothing unless you are at ground level. See if I can get down low enough and you look up, then you might see a bit of detail. But ordinarily you see nothing. So it's kind of pointless. So this is how you can create a very interesting little fairy tower or gazebo by setting down columns and then putting a room over it with no walls, with a cornice, cornicing detail, spandrels, and then columns. Of course, if you're on a raised platform, you also get a sort of a more combined look. So I hope these tips for glass roofs and new techniques that I've learned help you to become a better builder. I'd love to see what you produce. So do leave a comment below. Like the video if you felt it was worth your time. If you're new to the channel, do subscribe and turn on notifications from the bell icon. and that way you'll receive alerts for new videos just like this one. Thank you so much for watching, and do enjoy the rest of your day.